Well, good afternoon and welcome to Lichtsinn RV, where today we're broadcasting live here in our marketing studio, only 1 mile north of the Winnebago factory, based right here in Forest City, Iowa. We are so excited to take all of your questions live today on the all-new 2020 Winnebago Touring Coach Boldt. We have both floor plans here in our studio today. Off on your left, we have the 70BL floor plan, and off on your right, we also have the 70KL floor plan. Both of the floor plans that are available in this new 4-season Mercedes-Benz Sprinter-based camper van from Winnebago Industries. So I want to welcome everyone today, including a few special guests, our team members here at Lichtsinn RV. Heidi Thompson, as she does each month, will be covering all of your questions live as we go through the Boldt. Heidi is our Vice President and General Manager. I also want to welcome our outstanding marketing team with Hope Lichtsinn, Rhonda Gertis behind the camera, and Maggie Breister handling the controls as we broadcast live across 4 different channels today. So I want to welcome everybody that's on our website on lithtsinn.com. So as you have a question, you can actually chat it in on the right-hand side of your screen in the chat box. You don't need to provide any information to us, but you can chat in your questions and we'll cover those live as we go through the 2 Boldts. I also want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live, and you can actually chat in your questions directly in the comments box. Those guests also on YouTube Live, there's a chat box off to the right. And for all of our Twitter followers, I want to welcome everybody watching today on Periscope. So today, we're going to cover all of your questions live. Just keep in mind that we can do this same type of an interactive presentation from the comfort of your own home or office. We can conference in a partner, a spouse, for a great 3-way dialogue as we cover anything that's important to you live in true high definition from the comfort of your own home or office on any of our in-stock RVs, which we do nearly on a daily basis. In fact, we have an appointment right afterwards on the 70BL. So keep in mind, we can do that at any point in time on any in-stock RV that we have. So again, today we're going to cover the 4-season Winnebago Boldt camper van from Winnebago Industries. We have great media from our marketing team on each of our vehicle display pages on lithtsinn.com underneath the new RVs section. We have a wonderful, slightly over an hour full walkthrough video that covers all of the details, the specs. So what we thought we would do today is cover just some key components to the Boldt. We'll cover some key components on the Mercedes-Benz diesel-powered Sprinter chassis. We'll cover things relative to the fact that this is an off-the-grid lithium model. So we'll cover some specs and take some questions on lithium, solar capabilities. Then we'll cover the exterior and the interior.
How's that
sound? So often the question gets asked, why Boldt? And why did we develop this? And the Coach is truly a 4-season RV. When it comes to being 4-season capable, just like the debut of the successful Winnebago Revel a few years ago, this has the same type of automotive grade EPS insulation in the sidewalls, the roof, and the rear cargo door. So it is purely a 4-season RV. All of the water lines are contained inside the van. The holding tanks then will have heated blankets underneath, so a heating pad underneath each, the black and the gray tank. The Volta system that we'll cover here in a moment also has the heating pads now inherent underneath the pack itself. We'll cover that here in a moment as well. But one of the great things about this is one of the reasons why we're so excited is for the 6 or 8 that we already have on the road right now. The response that we get from our guests is that it is truly the most comfortable, quiet vehicle that they've driven, with so many different capabilities from the Mercedes-Benz VS30 chassis that are modeled after the Mercedes S-Class. Just wonderful feedback in terms of the quality build, how quiet it is, how fluid it is, how much torque and power that it has, and really it's just an off-the-grid RV that you can literally take anywhere. So with respect to insulation, we modeled this after the Winnebago Revel. Some great R values. So R values in the sidewalls and also in the rear cargo doors of 8.9. 10 in the roof, which is actually significantly higher than traditional RVs that are out in the marketplace right now. Those R values are similar to what we see on the Winnebago Revel. It's made possible because we use automotive EPS foam insulation that won't sag over time. It's precision routed so that it models all the different nooks and crannies of the cargo van from Mercedes-Benz.
And in our world, this is a new entry as far as having a truly four-season coach.
It was when we came out with the Winnebago Revel, and now it's being rolled out into different vehicles, including the Travato and then also the Winnebago Boldt. What's unique about this is for those that want a true four-season camper, and when you really think about it, it doesn't have to be four-season in the standpoint of winter. It'll keep the vehicle nice and cool during extremely hot climates. In fact, one of the first Boldts that we had went down to the southeast part of the United States and absolutely did wonderfully in terms of maintaining nice, cool climate conditions in 110 plus degree heat, especially when you parlay that now with the new thermostatically controlled air conditioner that we'll cover here a little bit later. This is a great offering for somebody that really likes the capabilities of the Revel that might be looking for four-wheel drive, because both of these floor plans are available in the Mercedes-Benz four-wheel drive, but is looking for permanent sleeping, possibly a larger bathroom, just a slightly larger vehicle. It's also available in four-wheel drive from Mercedes-Benz.
So I have a great question on our YouTube channel from Novella. She says, "Hi, Ron." She loves the BL, the 70BL. With all the long-term usage features, why is there no storage, kind of AKA Revel, like the Revel?
So with respect to the Boldt BL, again, anytime that you're going to take that space that normally would be the gear garage that Novella is talking about in the Revel and place in a permanent sleeping space, it's possible that some of those components can carry some of the same cargo that you might be using. A lot of people are using these in four-season climates, but also in hotter climates with high-end bicycles that can be stored right in between each of those rear beds in the BL with some great cargo access from behind.
Another question is, how long is it?
Yeah, good question. So this is on the 170-inch wheelbase from Mercedes-Benz, but it is not the extended overhang version. So it's going to be a little bit more nimble than what people are familiar with respect to the Winnebago Era. 22 feet 9 inches long, but the wheelbase and the handling will be the same because it is a 170-inch wheelbase. So 22 feet 9 inches long, 9 feet 9 inches in terms of height to the most standard feature atop the RV, and that increases then by 2 inches if you go to four-wheel drive, and 6 feet 4 inches in terms of width. Was that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. A lot of numbers flowing around. So again, great insulation capabilities. Also, we've got a real nice deep dive of about 10 minutes that walks through all of the safety enhancements and the creature comforts with respect to the Mercedes-Benz VS30 chassis. And again, really modeled after the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, provides a lot of the same luxuries that you'd find, including memory seating, heated seats, ultra leather seating, and all of those safety enhancements that we cover in our vehicle display page video with respect to the safety enhancements from Mercedes-Benz.
And really the feedback we're getting from the guests that are on the road in it, and what we were told and that we've found to be true as well, is that Boldt, you know, when it's with the insulation it has, when you close down those doors and windows, it just very noticeably shuts out the outside world, kind of in a way that we haven't had. You might compare it to a luxury car.
And it is, because if you think about the expectations that people have in terms of it being absolutely quiet in a Mercedes-Benz, same concept here. And this, again, this being the third generation Mercedes-Benz chassis, things only get better over time. But the insulation and just the quietness inside is truly incredible. I mean, these are just an absolute dream to drive. So simple to turn the steering wheel. With some of the new technology that's built into the steering controls. Great torque. It'll have 325 pounds-feet of torque, so great power as you're increasing grade. It'll have very fluid transmission sequence because of the new 7-speed 7G-tronic transmission. So great power, great fluidity in terms of shift points, but outstanding fuel economy with 18 to 22 miles per gallon highway. This is on the 11,030-pound gross vehicle weight rating chassis. So the BL behind me will have approximately mid-2200s for occupant and cargo carrying capacity, 2,400 pounds on the KL. Close?
Really good.
All right, let's take some questions. So we've covered Mercedes-Benz, we've covered some of the insulation properties. We're going to jump into lithium next.
Can I ask you a question quick about 4x4? So it's available in a 4x4 option.
You bet.
What does that do to clearance? Does it change anything about the coach?
So four-wheel drive will add 2 inches in terms of ground clearance and then also overhead height to the coach. So it takes it to 9 feet 11 inches. It is about a $9,000 dealer cost increase to go to four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive is intentionally sequenced from Mercedes-Benz to place 65% of the power to the rear axle, 35% to the front axle to gain that traction that you need. It also now can be engaged into the four-wheel drive at lower speeds, whereas with previous models, they recommended that you come to a complete stop before you placed it in four-wheel drive.
A couple of really good questions off of our website from Court. Does either version have a supplied spare tire?
Great question. And neither of these versions are coming with spare tires for a couple of different reasons. One is if you look at a lot of different light-duty passenger car, truck, SUV manufacturers, they're under stringent EPA regulations with respect to fuel economy across their entire portfolio. So really one of the goals is to make the vehicle as light as possible. So as you go out and shop for a light-duty car or truck or SUV, you're going to see a lot of spare tires have been removed with tire inflation repair kits. There is a mounting bracket up underneath for the Bolt, but it's actually been placed with the actual 4-module Volta Power Systems energy pack. So if you wanted to add a spare tire, which we certainly could, there are some different opportunities that could be done off of the rear, whether it be an Aluminous spare tire mount or an owl mount, or even some of the new Summit mounts to the rear in which they'll actually use the hinges off the doors. And obviously you'd want to place that then on the driver's side door because of the Summit ladder that is stored on the patio side door. Did that cover that?
What's the difference between the 70KL and the Q70KL? I'm guessing they're seeing...
Oh, sure. So the 70KL is the same no matter if you see another letter in front of it. It's just an internal model identifier from Winnebago. There is only one 70KL floor plan, which you'll see off to your right, and then the BL floor plan behind. Those are the only 2 floor plans. And they're actually very, very similar. Rhonda does some great video work, as she always does, and on our vehicle display page, we take you through that floor plan. But with respect to the BL floor plan, 2 twin beds to the rear, midship bath with a forward-facing bench, and also gives you a few additional safety belts with a single bed that can be converted right here. 70KL floor plan with the rear larger full bath.
CMAC on our website is wondering if the cab is also insulated or just the coach portion.
The cab is insulated from Mercedes-Benz, absolutely. And actually, to expand on that a little bit further, insulated very, very well, because if you think about how these vans are actually used and how they're not intended primarily for the RV industry. They're designed for commercial purposes, which are certainly used in 4-season climates. So they're very, very well insulated for commercial over-the-road trucking for Amazon, UPS, and FedEx.
Lisa on our YouTube channel is asking, she has heard Mercedes will now permit a limited amount of 20% biodiesel fuel. Does that include the Bolt?
So it does with respect to, you see a lot of the biodiesel that you'll see in Midwest climates, certainly the support for the ag industry. With respect to biodiesel, same premise holds from previous vans. You want to certainly increase the amount of how frequent you'll replace your fuel filter. Also make certain that you're very stringent about checking oil levels. So 2 things, and Mercedes does have some documented information on that to support that. So you can use biodiesel in them, but again, more often changing that fuel filter and being very stringent about checking your oil levels.
I have a great question from Rob, but I'll hold it on Volta. So I'll let you kick off your Volta section, and then I have a question ready for you.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into the Volta Power System. So really the intention for this coach is to literally go anywhere. Wherever you can dream up, we want to be able to take the Bolt. We want to be able to do that with complete 30 amp coach service, not having to rely on being plugged into shoreline cord and not having to rely on a potentially noisy generator. So this is a lithium-powered whole coach 30 amp service from Volta Power Systems. This is a dramatically different level of lithium than what you've seen with respect to lithium being marketed. Most lithium that you see marketed is a drop-in lithium phosphate battery. This is an automotive NMC grade battery pack, which is the same technology that you'll find in hybrid and electric vehicle applications, such as the Chevrolet Volt, the Chevrolet Bolt, no pun intended.
No D.
What's that?
No D.
Without the D. And also the Prius, the different types of hybrid and EV applications that you've seen. So it's a sealed, watertight, in a steel housing, automotive NMC grade battery energy system. This is a 4-module Volta system, which means previously you've seen marketing for 8,700 watt hours. This brings you up to 11,600 watt hours because it does have the 4th module from Volta Power Systems. Volta Power Systems is a reputable, outstanding company to partner with. They provide incredible service, and Jack Johnson and his team over at Volta Power Systems do a wonderful job with respect to support. When these originally rolled out a couple of years ago, with respect to just a couple of growing pains and maybe a couple of small warranty items, they were absolutely responsive and absolutely on it. In fact, they've flown personnel directly to consumers, to dealers, to ensure that this rollout is absolutely flawless. And again, that was a couple of years ago. So we're in our 2nd year with this, and 11,600 watt hours of available energy. But what's unique to it, it is just absolutely simple one-touch operation with the push of a simple button that gives you complete 30 amp whole coach electrical service, which is different than you see some competitors using with multiple inverters or a smaller energy pack. So again, 11,600 watt hours. It's partnered up with a 3,600 watt pure sine wave inverter. So you can literally run everything in this coach simultaneously, just as though you were plugged in at a resort or campsite. So each of these bolts right now are literally on an island right now with respect to the fact that neither one is plugged in. We're clearly not running a generator, and we have complete 30 amp electrical service. So you can see we have power to the microwave and convection oven, to the thermostatically controlled Coleman Mach NDQ air conditioning system. All of the outlets are hot, and it is complete standalone, isolated 30 amp electrical service without the need for shoreline service and without the need for an auxiliary onboard RV generator.
And so simple to use. I mean, if you look at some competitive models of the sequence of buttons that needs to happen, it's right. Complex.
And also, I mean, when we talk with other RV suppliers and also other RV dealers, it's complex just for their trained professionals to be able to use. I mean, some of the power panels that you'll see are similar to almost like an airplane cockpit. They're so challenging to use because they have multiple inverters. So if you want to run one electrical appliance, you use this inverter. If you want to run this electrical appliance, you turn this inverter on, because really what they're doing is they're kind of band-aiding or just kind of jigsaw puzzling in multiple batteries and multiple inverters. One button, everything's hot, and if you know that you're not going to have a use for electricity, you can even turn the inverter off, and this thing will last just an incredible amount of time for 12-volt power for off-the-grid RVing. So one of the common questions that we get is, how do you charge it? And so you can charge the NMC grade battery pack several different ways. It does have the under-the-hood alternator. Some people will refer to that as an under-the-hood generator. A generator, by definition, is just something that supplies power. So the under-the-hood alternator, which is now an increased 160 amp under-the-hood alternator from previous models that were 120 amp. So theoretically, it's 33% quicker in terms of recharging that as you drive down the road. It'll recharge the Volta Power Pack anytime that you're plugged in, whether it be at home or if you're at a resort or a campground, or from the standard 230 watts of solar, which are rooftop, which is then expandable up to 600 watts off of a single MPPT solar controller, which then will recharge that Volta Power Pack. That was a lot, wasn't it?
It's a lot. In real world use, a lot of our guests
Push
on
a
the
button
road,
and use it.
Yeah, and a lot of our guests, the nature of this is they're driving anyway,
Right.
here and there, so they're charging up quickly.
Yep.
And really, it's a non-issue.
It is, you know, a 58 volt under the hood alternator with over 6,000 watts of charging power, which is dramatically different than what some competitors are using with 12 volt alternators that may be 36 to 4,800 watts max. So just a significantly different application, which again is similar to that automotive hybrid and EV application.
And you're not getting the full use of 30 amps.
Correct. Most are 17 or 25 amps.
Did
You
you,
said you had-
did you say that? And I
No, I didn't,
Oh,
but we
okay.
did say it in the vehicle display page video.
Perfect. So Rob has a good question
Yep.
that a lot of people have. He plans on using this vehicle throughout the winter, and I'm confused about charging the Pure 3 in cold weather conditions.
Yeah, great question, because as you've experienced at home, lithium doesn't like to be frozen. Lithium doesn't like to be real hot, but it's significantly below zero. All of the new Volta Power Systems will have the heating pads, which are 110 volt electrical auxiliary heating pads surrounding that battery pack. They're thermostatically controlled by the Volta Power System. They are tied into the inverter, which is intentional, so that as you travel down the road and you're recharging that pack, you have the inverter running so that it can activate the heating pads. So literally no issue whatsoever.
And no
Did
buttons.
that answer the question? Yes, you can use it. They do have heating pads.
Yep.
They're
and
electric.
we've always said if you're comfortable, they're comfortable. So that's the state of temperature anyway that you're trying to get to, right?
Yes, yes. However, to take that point further, if you're driving down the road though, and you have a lot of that really cold wind chill up underneath the vehicle where that automotive grade energy pack is, you would want something to be able to keep up with that.
Great.
But yes, there's two different ways to heat it. The first, which originally came out in Travato, is the radiant heat that comes off of the Truma Combi Eco Comfort Plus system. But now we have the pad heaters blanketing the Volta Power Packs.
Another question that we get a lot that's been asked is just how long can you run the air conditioning at night with fully charged batteries?
Yep. So based on feedback from guests that actually own the vehicles, with the 4-module Volta Power Systems with normal air conditioning use, about 8 to 10 hours. Certainly longer if you're in a low state of the compressor. If you're in a very, very hot climate and really want to be able to hang meat inside that bolt, I mean, you're probably looking at about 6 to 8 hours before you would want to recharge the system.
Where do I service the Volta?
Where do we service the Volta? So with any authorized Volta dealer, most lithium dealers have been trained in the Volta Power Systems. Our team is absolutely phenomenal with respect to having so much experience so early on, being trained directly by Volta. We've got a great team here at Lichtsinn RV. If you're out on the open road, Truma has authorized service centers as well.
I am done with Pure 3, but I can do some randoms if you're up for some randoms.
We'll cover some randoms and just keep chatting them in. We'll just go rapid fire.
Okay. For optimum stealth use and anonymity, can all exterior decals and any raised letters be removed by your dealership?
What a loaded question.
It is loaded.
Yes, the lettering can be removed. We would prefer not to do it to honor our agreement with Winnebago Industries.
We have, in the case of the Revel, occasionally helped with some decal removal, but guests by and large are doing that themselves.
Yeah,
and we're trying
if
not
you
to.
really look at the appearance of this though, it's not really any different than what you would find with a Mercedes-Benz, because the only things that have been added is this small Winnebago logo here, as I'm moving around all over the place, and the Boldt logo here. I mean, there's really not a lot to it. And that's one of the reasons why people really like the colors that Winnebago has selected, whether it's the iridium silver or the tannerite gray, which is more of the granite metallic, is they tend to blend in more. So as we're trying to kind of duck under the radar of HOA or homeowners association requirements, it really does look like a van, so to speak.
Richard is asking a great question. What if you store the Boldt in winter weather? What about the battery? What should you do?
Good question. We have the same challenge here at Lichtsinn RV, although it doesn't really get too cold until the month of January and we don't really see a lot of snow. The best way to store these is to very simply ensure that the Volta Power System is charged and turn it off.
CMAC on our website is, you mentioned a luminous rear bumper. If you install it, does it impact the safety features like lane departure, rear backup,
Yeah,
etc.?
great question. In terms of spare tire mounts, the original aluminous spare tire mounts were affecting the rear ultrasonic park sensors. In fact, that's one of the reasons, in addition to preserving occupant and cargo carrying capacity, that Winnebago opted not to put a spare tire on it, because if you see some very early renderings of the Boldt, they did have a spare tire on the rear. But to free up cargo carrying capacity and to ensure no issue with the ultrasonic sensors to the rear, Winnebago opted not to do that. The OWL mounts are mounted up high. Summit is now coming out with a spare tire mount that will be mounted up higher so it doesn't affect the sensors. And I know Illuminous is extremely close to unveiling their new mount that has no conflicts whatsoever with the safety features to the rear.
Court has a question. I love it when you get questions like this. Would it be possible to exchange the 26 by 81 inch cushion for another 26 by 74 inch cushion so the bedding would be all the same in the 70KL?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. You like yes/no questions, or just the ones that are like really to the point that this is how I want to use it?
It's sort of like a word problem. A couple of questions on this on different platforms. Does Boldt have auto start like the Travato model?
The Boldt does not have auto start, and the primary reason for it is because since it is a turbo diesel platform, we don't want to clog that particulate filter. It's not something that we've intentionally omitted. But again, the concept is, with this being a touring vehicle going from point to point, and the fact that it is 23 feet in length, you can cool it down pretty quickly, and with the insulation maintain that and really free up that usage on the Volta system. But again, with the fourth module now, we go to 11,600 watt hours. So the guests that we have that are out on the road, and again, we probably have about 8 or so, one I'm in real close contact with, have never had an issue of that Volta Power System getting low. And they're generally probably 2-nighters at different resorts and campgrounds, so to speak, and then they're off and driving the vehicle. Plus, unless you're going to be somewhere where you're close to being able to have the capability of using a bicycle or some other form of transportation, you're going to need to drive to that location anyway.
Fred is wondering, what is the temperature limit for the Volt batteries for those who live or spend time in the desert, Southwest, where temps can be up to 120 degrees in the shade?
A really good question, and it's in Heidi's OneNote, which is on her tablet, and I'm going to ask her to pull that up because it's in the same section as the Travato section.
Okay, I'll look for that.
We'll come back to that. I could guess, but I would rather give an actual degree. We'll come right back to that.
Just a last question before you move on.
I don't have to move on.
Would you say that the Volta system in this Boldt is the same performance as the Travato National Parks Edition?
Yes, absolutely. Almost to a T.
So if someone didn't want to pay the premium of a Mercedes-Benz chassis, you could achieve the Volta accomplishments this has through a National Parks Edition.
With the National Park Foundation Travato, as you look that up, with the National Park Foundation Travato, almost to a T. The only difference is that obviously we're going to make more Boldts, but we are almost out of the second 100 run of the National Park Foundation Travatos, and Winnebago has committed that they're not going to build a third. So. Again, limited quantities on that National Park Foundation Travato, but a little bit of a different animal with respect to the fact that it is certainly more affordable. It's gasoline powered, front wheel drive, a little bit shorter in terms of 21 feet compared to 23 feet. And so just kind of a different animal, so to speak. But in terms of the lithium capabilities, absolutely, almost to a T.
High temperature limit from the manual, right?
Yep.
117 degrees Fahrenheit.
Good, because I was going to say 113, so I'm glad I didn't. 117. And again, that's with respect to the fact that There is still the opportunity for the diffused air to get into that Volta Power Pack. So, you know, some of that air conditioning that you're going to see is going to be able to migrate into that Volta Power Pack.
Is there a compatible storage box for the roof rack that doesn't interfere with the solar or the air conditioning?
There's a lot of them, actually. Good question. There's a lot of different storage boxes that can be attached to a Summit rack system. Actually, if you do a lot of just kind of searching for images and things like that, you'll see a lot of military box storages because they have attachment points to that all-metal roof rack system. And again, the all-metal roof rack system, whether it be the luggage rack and the ladder, that is a factory installed option, which all of our inventory that we stock will have the Summit all-metal roof rack along with the detachable all-metal ladder that now locks to the rear door.
What is the status of the 4x4? Is it available now?
4x4 is available now. We have some here on the ground that are retail sold. If you wanted to place a custom order, you're probably looking in kind of that late January timeframe.
I'm fresh out.
You're fresh out.
Yep.
I thought you said we had some solar questions.
Oh, you kind of covered it, but you can do it again. How much total can you put on it?
600.
I think I said I have random questions, if I can throw them at you, and I've thrown them at you.
Well, I'm going to name drop our guest then, because Bick emailed a series of questions that I wanted to make certain that we covered. So thank you for chatting those in advance of the webcast. I'll let Heidi. I'm not going to steal your thunder at this point.
I'm going to ask them, so it seems like I remember that. So thanks to Bick, these are awesome. Which connector is used for the remote port?
Okay, so recall that earlier we covered the fact that to recharge the 11,600 watt energy pack, one of the ways is through the standard 230 watts of solar, which are rooftop mounted. Now, obviously we have some challenges in real estate up there. So you can expand that through using this little quick port alongside the patio side to expand using portable solar panels. And with portable solar panels, you can then articulate those directly at the sun as the sun changes throughout the course of the day, use the pivot and the axis to really gain that maximum solar absorption. The question was what type of...
What connector is used? Is it a MC4, Anderson power pole, etc.? Okay,
good question. So this connector right here is actually an SAE connector. Okay, and not referring to the classification code for electrical. This is an SAE connector. It's the same type of connector that you may find like on a battery tendering service, whether you have the round eyelets that go on posts of a battery and then that other end that you would then plug in. This is an SAE connector. They do make, if you already own a portable solar panel, which could potentially be an MC4 or an Anderson power pole, they do make little adapters to connect to an SAE connector. Good question.
Is that remote port wired directly to the onboard MPPT controller in the Pure3 system?
It is. So anything that you plug in here runs through the same solar charge controller, which then you would want to ensure that if you are using a portable solar panel, if you already had one and you were using it in a different RV that didn't have solar mounted to the roof, it probably has a built-in controller on the back side. You would want to remove that and then follow the instructions to remove that controller and just have the panel itself be used. Because if you have a controller on the portable solar panel and the onboard MPPT controller, they'll kind of fight against one another.
What is the solar wattage limit of that remote port?
So you can expand the system off of that single MPPT controller up to 600 watts. This is actually fused at 15 amps and times 12 volt system, so 180 on this particular SAE connector. So 180 on the remote one here. That's not to say that we couldn't run another one for you because these SAE connectors and cables are cheap and we can run them back into the solar controller. So we could add another SAE controller here for another 180 watts.
Perfect. Thank you, Bick, for all of those questions.
And thank you, Ron, for remembering Bick's question.
Thank you for keeping me on track. JJ is wondering, what if we travel with pets and want to leave them in the vehicle? Can you leave the AC running with pets in the vehicle so they're comfortable while we're gone? How does that work?
Absolutely. Great question. In fact, it's been kind of a challenge in the RV industry for the last 20 years is how do we take care of our pets, because that's half the way we travel. With respect to this type of a stealth vehicle, what's really handy now is the fact that the air conditioning system inside and also the Truma combi system for heat. So the air conditioning system is now the Coleman Mach 10 NDQ, or non-ducted quiet, so it's thermostatically controlled. So there is, I'm trying to figure out which one's easier for you to get at, Rhonda. I'll just aimlessly walk around. Let's go here. Yeah, let's go here. It'll be easier for you. And the reason why I'm looking is because of the location of the air conditioning system, so that Rhonda has a better camera viewing angle. There is a thermostat actually on the shroud of the air conditioning system, so you can use that thermostat. But what's also really handy now is you can Bluetooth that to your smartphone or tablet, which is also really handy for some of our shorter guests that can't reach that. You don't have to use a step stool. You can pair it up to your smartphone or your tablet and just set the temperature and then forget about it. What's also really handy with that is that when there's not a call for the air conditioning, it will turn the compressor off to conserve power. Was that the question?
Yep.
Or was it?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, with respect to air, you can use the thermostat just like you would at home. With respect to heat, just go ahead and use the same Truma combi system thermostat on the panel, which actually is straight ahead there too, Rhonda, for the Truma programming for the heat side to it.
And Volta has a cool calculator on their website that you can kind of play around with appliances. Yeah, on Volta's website, that's a good point, Heidi. On Volta's website, as long as you select the right 11,600 watt-hour energy pack, you can program in certain appliances that you're commonly going to run, and it'll tell you how long it's going to last. But while we're here, if you can hit that state of charge gauge, Rhonda. The state of charge gauge now is calibrated to show all the useful energy remaining. And then also what started shipping this month is a Bluetooth connectivity module that any coach owner can install. It's very simple to do, that you can now Bluetooth into the state of charge gauge to get some more diagnostic info and really look at more granular data on the state of charge for the Volta system. Or not, if you're me. Or you could just push one button and just use it, which is how simple it is. Richard is wondering, does high or low temp destroy the battery? Neither high or low temp will destroy the battery. Setting will destroy the battery. On the air conditioner? On the batteries. High or low temp, I'm sorry, I'm taking a hard left. Back to temperature. High temps, temperature of the low batteries. Temps, yes. It can damage those as long as you're outside of the parameters. But if you're consistently in colder temps with heating pads, no issue whatsoever. Right. So I have some interior questions. I don't know if you want to cover anything first. BL behind me or KL to the viewer's right? Probably whichever. One of the questions is, would we say the galley or kitchen are about the same size between the two floor plans? Yeah, I mean, they're very similar because you're going to have the sink and the induction cooktop. Best way to look at that is aerial on a floor plan. Also be sure to check out our full-length videos. The BL galley that you can see faces right out towards your patio, induction cooktop, countertop, and then sink. And we can jump into that if we have it. We do want to jump into that. Okay. We can jump in here. So we're really excited today to be able to show the BL floor plan because it just started shipping. In fact, thank you to, I'll call him Mr. G, that allowed us to use his retail sold coach for a BL today. Again, this is the new BL floor plan. Same setup with respect to two twin beds, but the bath itself is actually mid-coach, and then the galley faces out towards the patio area, which the KL does as well, but it's just a slightly different setup, which also then allows for this forward-facing dinette. This does include more safety belts than the KL, but does have one additional sleeping capacity here with a single bed. And you can go in through that door and just set it there if you want. It's up to you. Well, before you do that, I have some questions on that table. And like, what's the deal? How does it work? Have you seen what Rhonda's holding right now? I know. Rhonda's strong. Oh, you want me to cover the table? Yes. Okay. So yes, modeled after a Lagoon table. It ties into the Ram mount tough track system.
It can be elevated up or down. The nice thing about this is you can use it, you can tilt it, you can use it as a standing desk, an additional prep surface for the kitchen or the galley. You can then lower it down to be the dinette or the workstation for the passenger.
What else can you use it for? I'm just
Well,
kidding.
we don't, this is live. I can't edit this later.
Okay, awesome. Can we order more of those?
We can, and this RAM mount system can be used mid-coach as well. Now you can swing around and we can show the floor plan. It's blinking.